Today's episode of DRL is brought to you by Hella Cocktail Company. My guests don't just come to DRL for me. They also come for the cocktails. Luckily, my friends at Hella Cocktail Company have my back. These guys make amazing mixes from Bloody Mary to Margarita to Moscow Mule. They also make cocktail bitters, my secret ingredient, and now yours too. It's easy to feel like the best bartender in town when every bottle comes with a simple recipe on it. Hella Cocktail Company, bold flavor, real ingredients, hospitality. Mixing it up since 2011. Shop the collection on Amazon Prime or use code DRL online at hellacocktail.co for free shipping. Hello, my lovely listeners. Welcome back to another episode of DRL, where we're talking everything dating, relationships, and love. I'm your host, Tennesha Wood. Hey, y'all. I say y'all because I'm in Dallas right now, and I'm actually going to be here for a couple months. I took a new opportunity down here, so I'll be off and on here for a little bit. And, still getting used to it. It's a very, very new situation. Chris is not here with me, so he's kind of back and forth as well. So we're doing a little bit of a long distance thing for a couple months, which kind of sucks because I don't know if I've ever told you guys this, but we've barely spent any time apart since we started our relationship. Like, we literally met, then moved in together like a month later, and then started working together shortly after that, and literally spent all day, every day together. And he's probably the only person I can do that with and not be completely sick of. So it's definitely a big transition right now, just not being in his face and in his space all the time. But luckily I don't have to get used to it for too long. So I got this. So one thing that I have noticed in Dallas that I'm quite impressed with thus far is how men approach. So the other day I was in Target and just doing my general Target thing. I love Target. Like I just do. It's my favorite place. And so I'm in Target and I think I was like getting nail polish, and this guy comes up to me like on the side of me and he says, "Excuse me." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he says, "How are you?" And I'm like, "Good." And he said, I noticed you when you came in, and I just wanted to come over and introduce myself. I forgot his name. I'm Bob." And I'm like, "Oh, hi, Bob." And he's like, "I think you're very beautiful and I'm hoping to get to know you better. And I'm wondering if you're spoken for." And I said, "Bob, I actually do have a boyfriend." And he said, "Okay." He's like, I thought you might." And he said, "You have a good rest of the day." And I said, "You too." And that was it. And I was so impressed. Now, I don't know if I've just been in New York too long, but I thought that was the perfect approach, right? So here's what he did. And men, listen. Are you listening? Listen. So here's everything that he did right. So first of all, when he came up to me, he didn't touch me. He didn't tap me. He didn't like hold my shoulder. He didn't yell from across the other side of the aisle, but he didn't like come all up in my personal space. It was like a good distance. It was like an appropriate, I don't know you, but I want to speak to you distance. He said, "Excuse me." He wasn't creeping. So like he said he noticed me when I walked in, but like I didn't see him follow me around the store. Like I didn't sense him like lurking around corners, just waiting to pounce. Like it was very just, it was just so cool the way that he approached. He let me know what his intentions were and what he wanted from me, and was very respectful about the whole thing. So when he approached me and he said, "Hey, how are you?" Good. That's how you approach another human being. "How are you?" "I'm good. Good. Okay, cool. Here's what I want from you. I wanted to get to know you better. I noticed you. Okay, cool." Now he's let me know exactly why he's talking to me, so I can decide to continue the conversation or end the conversation. And then he says, "Hey, I wanted to know, are you spoken for? Do you have a boyfriend?" "Yes, I do." Okay. And then he accepted that. He respected it, and then he accepted it. He accepted it and respected it. He said, "Okay, I thought you might. Have a good day." it wasn't like, I've heard a couple of different responses when women say, oh, I have a boyfriend. Well, like, he doesn't let you have friends. Like, I don't know you. How are we going to be friends? Like, so disrespecting your relationship by like trying to like make it something else. Like, oh, so like he can't let you have friends. Like, ew, stop. Like, please. Like, my friend my friend will not be you. If I am having friends, it is not you. Or the like almost like upset about it. Like, whatever. Like, he just was so respectful and cool that after he walked away, I was really thinking like, damn, I should have got his number because I would hook him up with a friend. Like, I should have got his number because that's how respectful he was. And I was like, he's a person worth, that would have been, if I was single, that would have been worth a date just based on his approach. So like, yeah, I wouldn't say I was like physically attracted to him. Like, I wouldn't say like he's my physical type, but just based on like his demeanor and his approach and his level of respect, I would have given it a date and seen where it went. And so like, yeah, like that happened to me twice where guys approached me here and like, it was so like cool and respectful and upfront. And I was like, I've been in New York too long because I haven't been approached like this in a while. Since I'm in Dallas for a couple months, if there is any lovely listeners out there that would like to come on, if you have an interesting dating story or huge lesson that you've learned through dating, I would love to have you on, learn a little bit about dating life here in Dallas, see what's up. I love New York, but it's been really a little bit nice to get out. It sort of seems like New York doesn't really ever stop. And I don't know, it's kind of nice to sometimes just take a little bit of a pause and a break. But on the other hand, I'm like, oh my God, I really miss it. Like, what's going on here? There's nothing going on. So I'm totally back and forth on it. I wanted to take today's episode to just catch back up, do some listener questions, let you guys know what's going on in my life. I feel like we haven't had a one-on-one in a while and I miss you guys. So let's get into some listener questions. Should I say who these are from? No, some of these are a little personal, so I'm not going to say who they're from, but I had posted, the you know, the thing that you can do on Instagram stories where you're just like, ask me a question. And so I got a bunch of really good questions from that. And it's funny because one woman sent me like 18 replies because she was telling a very long story, but like you can't apparently fit all that in the thought bubble that Instagram provides. And I was like, hey, you could just DM me. We don't need to do that whole thing. So the first question is, would you pursue someone who is bad at staying in touch? That's a yes and a no for me because it's less about how they are about staying in touch and more about their communication style, right? So we all have different communication styles. And I think a lot of the way that we communicate nowadays is via text, right? Or memes for some of us. I communicate via meme. But some people are very heavy communicators, meaning if they miss a call from you, they call you back right away. If you text, they're going to text you back right away. They're going to reply. If you leave a comment, they're going to comment back right away. And that's awesome. And some of us, this is where I think I fit in, are a little bit more light, especially on the electronic communication. So I hate to say it, but it's true, and I'm trying to be better, but I am not a good texter. Unless it's like I know that the text requires me to respond right then and there. I generally will sort of wait until I have a free moment or at the end of the day, and I'll just sit and I'll reply to everything in like one foul swoop. And people are like, well, stuff is old by then. But like, really, I just sit down like at night and I'm like, okay, let me reply to this comment and this one and this one. Let me reply to this text. But like in the middle of the day when I'm like trying to do other things, or I might be like out with somebody or I'm face to face with somebody else, like I just really don't like being back and forth on text. Like I'd almost rather, sometimes I really am like, I wish text messages were never invented. Like I wish that people had to communicate with each other in person, and maybe that wouldn't be as often, but I think it would be more quality communication. I think a lot of texting now is just like junk text for no reason. And I just want all my interactions to be quality interactions where like we're both getting something from that exchange. And sometimes over text, it feels like, how are you? And I don't know. I'm not a big texter. I think the answer to that question would be you have to ask somebody what their communication style is. So if you're newly getting to know somebody, a good way to phrase that would be, how do you communicate via text? Are you a person that like prefers text? Are you a person that prefers to talk on the phone in person? Are you a person that replies to text right away? Are you a person that generally waits? Like, because then you don't necessarily take it personally. Like most of my friends don't take it personally when I don't respond right away. Like, especially my close friends, like they know that I'm probably not going to respond right then and there. Unless you say, hey, trying to book this ticket for the concerts right now. Are you coming? And then I might, I won't respond. I'll respond. But if it's just something like, hey, how's your day going? Or like, here's this meme, I'm probably not going to respond right then and there. And I'm just not in the mind space to switch back and forth. That's just me. So I think the important part is finding out what somebody's communication style is and helping them to understand what yours is as well. So that only comes to be a problem when somebody is like a frequent communicator and the other person is like, hey, I just kind of do it whenever. But that's when you have to talk about it. Say, hey, like it really means a lot to me if I send you a text and you respond right away. Like that means a lot to me. Or it really irritates me or it makes me feel like you don't want to talk to me when I text you and you don't text me back for 2 days. Like set up those parameters. Like if 2 days is too much for you, say that. Say, I prefer to be texted back within 24 hours or a day. Like communicate on that and negotiate on that in a way that's comfortable for both people. But I think what generally happens is nobody talks about it and then somebody is sitting there mad. It's like somebody's sitting there mad because like they didn't reply back to my text for 2 days. Well, maybe that's their style and it's not you and now you're taking it personally, but like communicate that you didn't like that and why you didn't like that and what they could do in the future to better improve that. And maybe that's hanging out more. Maybe the other person's an in-person person. Maybe that's we see each other, we text less and see each other more. So the communication and the togetherness is still there, but in a different medium, in a different way. So communicate is the answer to that actual question. Okay. Were you hesitant to date a man with young children since you don't have any? It's funny. I got a lot of questions about dating a man with children. And I think it was because prior to posting that I was looking for questions, I had posted a picture with me and Chris and the girls in Puerto Rico. I was down there last week and it was amazing. We were on their spring break and we had an amazing time. But yeah, I think I was hesitant and let me say this about dating a man with children. First of all, it's not easy, and it's not easy because of the children. It's not easy because of my own ideals and expectations and what I think it should be, right? So initially, when I came into the relationship, okay, let me rewind even before that. So when I first met Chris and he told me he had kids, I was like, wow, this guy is going to make a really great friend. That's exactly what I thought. The second he said it, I was like, what's that Ariana Grande song where she's like, thank you next. Like, that's legit what I thought. I was like, thank you and next. Like, you seem like an amazing man and we will be amazing friends. So I was very hesitant about it. And the thing I think that made me move beyond that was Chris. It legit was who he was as a man, who he was as a father, and the relationship with the people that he had around him, right? So gonna be honest here. If at any moment, particularly in the beginning, I would have sensed any sort of baby mama drama. Like if he was just like, my baby mama's tripping again, I'd have been like, okay, bye. Cause I don't need that. Like I think bringing two people, bringing two normal, well-adjusted, self-aware people in a relationship is hard enough. Like that's just hard. Like merging two lives is hard. Now, add more people to that equation, including children, their mother, family, all that. it becomes that much harder. So I was not at a point where I was looking to add anything that would make a potential relationship harder. So that being said, I was very hesitant, but I saw the relationship that Chris had with their mom, and it was a positive relationship. It was a relationship of co-parenting. It wasn't, he's never said anything bad about her. He said that, things didn't work. They weren't meant for each other. They certainly tried for themselves and for their children, and it didn't work, and they're not for each other. But he doesn't badmouth her. He doesn't make her seem like she's this burden to him, because ultimately she's the person that produced his children. So can that person really be a burden to you if they gave you some of the greatest gifts you've ever had? And I talked about this on a previous episode. I think it was episode, I don't want to say 9 or 10 of this season. I'll link it on this episode site, because he was so positive about it. And because they have such a great co-parenting relationship, it almost made me wait, so do you guys want to be together? What is this? It immediately made me suspicious about what this was. And ultimately, at the end of the day, they're two grown people and it didn't work, but they still have a very important job to do together. And I think I'm getting more comfortable now with what my role is in that. I think initially I sort of struggled to figure out where I fit in within that. So am I girlfriend, stepmom? Am I just, going to play with you when you guys are here on the weekends? What is my role? And I think over the last, 2 years, it's become a little bit more clear where for me with them, I like to look at it like, I'm not your mother, and I'm not trying to be your mother, but I want to be a role model for the type of woman that you should be in your life. Meaning, I'm not that person that believes in do as I say and not as I do. I believe in do as I do. And so I really do think about them when I'm living my life. I think about, would I want them seeing me do this thing that I'm doing? Would I want them thinking the way that I'm thinking right now? Would I want them interacting with this person that I'm interacting with? So I really do use them as a gauge for how I'm living my life and whether I would want that for them and whether I would want them exposed to that. So they've really helped me mature in that way. And Chris's youngest daughter, Zola, she just turned 5, and we just have a very special relationship. I just love her. I love his children, period. But me and her, I think we just have sort of a special bond because we're both very stubborn people. Her and I have little mini wars, but it's we're both gangster about it, right? So I'll tell her to do something. I'll be like, hey, you know what? You need to clean up this room and you need to fold these clothes now. And she'll be like, but I'm maybe trying to make an excuse. And then she'll be like, oh, you're testing me? And I'm like, yeah, but we don't even talk. It's silent. We'll stare each other down. And she'll be like, oh, you're testing me right now? I'm like, yeah, I'm testing you right now. And then she'll sort of throw a tantrum and I won't even react. And I'll just straight up just look at her blank stare. And she's she'll sometimes look up at me I'm still going to throw this tantrum. And I'm like, I'm still going to do a blank stare. And eventually she does the thing, and then we just do fun stuff. Hey, you want to help me cook dinner now? And she's like, yeah, cool. And so, but that's how we both are. We're both the type of people where it's I'm not going to admit wrong. And so because we're both like that, and I'm like, oh, me either. I'm not going to admit wrong either. So we'll just both, and neither of us ever has to admit wrong. But then we come back together and we're cool as hell. But she's super sweet. So his children have brought a tremendous amount to my life, and I'm not going to sugarcoat all of it. It's hard sometimes when I say it's hard. Again, I'm not talking about his children. Yes, children are hard to raise, right? But I'm talking about the parts that I think are really hard for me are like sometimes my own ego, like my own, when I'm trying to figure out where I fit in, and I'm like, you know, I almost wonder, like, where am I on the scale of people, right? Like, where do I fit in this? Whose opinion comes first? And it's something that I have to contend with. And I talk to Chris about it all the time. You know, like his other daughter, Jackie, sometimes has her moments with me. And, you know, like she's made me cry a time or two in terms of like, I guess trying to put me in my place. And so it's a constant conversation between them and me and him and their mother. But we learn every day and we try to make it work every day. And I'm getting better about sharing my feelings about it with him, because that's a huge part. I think at first, like I would have a feeling and then I wouldn't say anything, and because I'd be like, well, I don't know that it's my place to, you know, say this about his children or, you know, put myself in that way. So like I was for a while, I think sort of silent and staying on the sidelines. But I think now I'm like, yo, if we're going to be together and this is forever, yeah, no, you need to hear how I feel about this. So for me, yes, I was hesitant to answer the question. It's really just been about learning and talking about it and talking about my reservations, talking about why I'm hesitant, talking about when I don't feel included. You know, that's actually a frequent theme with me is I'll tell Chris, I didn't feel included in that. So sometimes things will happen with the girls and, you know, I'll hear about it sort of by happenstance or after the fact and not intentionally, just, you know, things were happening in the moment. And then later he's like, oh, you know, by the way, this is happening with the girls or they're doing this. And then sometimes I feel like, well, how come you didn't tell me that when it was happening? Like, why am I just now hearing about this? And, you know, that's, again, something I struggle with, but he understands that now. Like, he understands that I need to feel, even if it's not my decision, like, even if things, and not all things are my decision, because, like, they're not my children at the end of the day. Like, it really does sort of come down to, like, what their mom and dad believe in best. And certainly he takes my input in. But, you know, I need to feel included. And I think he's understanding what that means for me more and more. And so he's incorporating that into, you know, how he's raising them and what he's doing and the decisions that he's making. And just really, it's not even that I got to make the decision. Sometimes I'm just like, I love these kids. Like, I want to be included in the process. And so he's understanding what that means for me more and more. So yeah, it's a journey. Okay. Next question. How, as a married man, do I stop wanting to be with other women and know I'm not completely happy? Wow. That was a lot. So how I'm understanding this is a married man that wants to be with other women. And I don't know if he has been or if it's at this point just a thought and a desire. I think that the first thing you have to do is figure out what it is that you want, whether that be out of a marriage, out of a person, out of a partner. What is it that you want, right? That's number one. Number two, talk to your partner about that. Say, hey, I want X. I don't feel like we have X. Here's how I think we can get X, right? But people don't do that part. They just jump immediately to, well, I don't have X, so it looks like I have to get it elsewhere. And I think especially now, I've not been married, but I think some of the patterns that I've seen from my married friends is they get into a marriage, they sort of fall into these patterns of doing what they do, right? So if every day at 8:00, they go to work, they come home, they have dinner, they watch a little bit of TV, they go to sleep, and they may not talk. They might not have like intimate time. Like, they just get into this routine. And down the line, when you're so far into this routine, I think you assume that that is what the other person wants. So I don't know what the issue is with this guy and his wife, but maybe the things that she's not doing, he assumes that she assumes that he doesn't want those things anyway, because they haven't been doing those things. He hasn't asked her for those things. So she's like, well, maybe that's not what he wants. And he's thinking the same thing, like, oh, well, that's not what she wants because she's not asking me about that. She's not pursuing that. And so now they're both thinking things and they're not talking about it. And sadly, now they're pursuing these things outside of the relationship when all they really had to do was have a conversation. And look, like, I personally think like divorce is okay. If that's what the only thing that can happen at the end of the day to make you happy, get a divorce, right? I'm not an advocate of divorce, but I'm not an advocate of staying in something if you're completely unhappy either. But I think a lot of people don't even take that first step of just like, well, what actually makes me happy? Is it just I want to go out and have sex with somebody else? Is that what's going to make me happy? Chances are that's probably not the thing that's going to make you happy if you're unhappy in your marriage. I just think you have to have, it's awkward when it's been so long. Like if you have been married to somebody for 5-10 years and you've been doing the same routine and you haven't been talking, to have that first conversation where you're just being open about what you want, like you feel a little bit exposed and a little bit naked and like, damn, this person's about to judge me because they didn't even know this about me. And so now I got to get it somewhere else. Like you just, at the end of, like, you have to be you. At the end of the day, you have to be 100% who you are. And like, you can't hide that. And if what you want is something that your partner like can't accept or doesn't want, or just can't accept the fact that you're being honest about it, well, maybe reevaluate. But I just don't like it when people are reevaluating their relationships and marriages without even giving the person a chance to say, okay, I get that. Let's see what we can do about that. But just making these assumptions that my partner won't go for that. Like, come on. Like, I think that's what marriage is. Marriage is at least giving somebody the shot to say, let's try anything, right? Like, once I'm married, okay, look, this is how I feel about marriage on the real. I think relationships can come and go. Like, I'll leave you. I will leave you tomorrow, okay? Because to me, that's what a relationship is. Like, we'll see. But marriage is a whole nother level where it's like, I'm not going to let this go until I've tried every single thing. And a part of trying every single thing is understanding what it is that is on your brain and what it is that you need. And I'm not saying I can deliver on those things, but like, I can't leave a marriage until I understand fully. Everything needs to be on the table. So, to wrap that question up, figure out what it is that makes you happy. Figure out what it is that's missing in your marriage and have that conversation. Don't have that conversation with the expectation or intent that everything that you're saying is right and everything that you want needs to happen. But a conversation does need to happen about what is going on in your head. I think it would be extremely unfair to just go out and start making yourself happy without the knowledge of your wife. Like, at least give her the opportunity to help make you happy, and hopefully she can give you the opportunity to do the same. So I hope that helps. Okay, next question. Are you married yet? Shout out to Let's Veg About It podcast. She has an amazing podcast, like about being a vegan. And I've actually sort of been dabbling with it for a while now. And, I've actually even gone alkaline vegan. But before I get to the question, I have to tell you guys a funny story. So you guys may remember Moke, who has been on this podcast, I think on season 1. I'll also link that episode. But what happened with us was we had went out on a couple dates, and then I ended up completely ghosting him. I was young and dumb. I would never do something like that again. But I completely ghosted him, and eventually he got back in touch with me. We ended up going out again and sort of, started, I guess, seeing if it would work again. Didn't end up working again, but like we're friends, and he's a really great guy. But I remember that second time that we sort of reconnected, he was like, yeah, so I'm an alkaline vegan. And I was like, what is an alkaline vegan? And he told me all about, so this was back in 2016? Yeah, this was like summer of 2016. And so he told me all about it. And he was like, yes, like I don't eat this. I don't eat that. I don't eat that. And like, we're out at a restaurant, and I was like, oh my God, like he's going to be one of those people that's going to annoy me at a restaurant with everything he doesn't eat. Ugh. So we went to, we went out on a couple dates again, and both times we went to vegan restaurants. And then in my mind, I was like, oh my God, is this going to be every time we go out, we go to a vegan restaurant? Gag me with a carrot. So fast forward, this is now 3 years later. And now I'm like, yeah, I think I'm really dabbling with the idea of becoming an alkaline vegan. For the past like 3 weeks, I have not had anything that wasn't alkaline vegan. And I've made a bunch of food and recipes that are all alkaline vegan. So Moke, again, I apologize. I feel like every time I talk to you, it's that I'm apologizing for something, which is like ghosting you or not respecting the way you were eating. Cause you know what? You were right. So anyway, shout out to Let's Veg About It podcast. And to answer the question, no, I'm not married yet, but don't put it past me. I'm not married. Let me just be clear on that. I'm not married, but I am the type of person who would just wake up one day and be like, today's the day. Let's just go to a courthouse and have that be that. So don't put it past me to just randomly be married all of a sudden one day. Or you'd be like, where was the wedding? What happened? Like, where are the people? No, I'm totally okay with the courthouse. I'm totally okay with the quick thing. All I want is my makeup done right and a nice photographer. And that could be at a courthouse. That could be on a beach. That could be in my kitchen while eating a carrot. Who knows? Like, I don't care. To me, it's like, it's not about the wedding at all. It's really about the person. So I would get married completely under the radar, but I would let you guys know. I wouldn't be shady and not let you guys know. It would probably just be after the fact where I was like, yeah, I went to a courthouse last week, but I am not married yet. And I would definitely let you guys know. Okay. Another question. This one, again, about dating a man with kids. I have always been against dating men with kids. What really made you change your thoughts? I would say this. If I met a man today, again, with kids, I would still be hesitant. Nothing would change in that department. The only thing that changed my thoughts was Chris and, again, like who he was. You know, I sort of answered this question before, so you guys get it. I went on a long rant with that. But anybody that's thinking about dating a man with kids, just observe. Observe his interaction with his children. Observe how he acts towards their mother. It is a red flag for me when anybody says, oh, all my exes are like the worst. All my exes did this. All my exes did that. Like, and they always have something bad to say about the people in their past. That is a red flag because, one, you're not accepting any responsibility for anything you might have done in any of those relationships. And if you don't like all your exes, who's the common denominator here? So that in general, with or without kids, that's just a red flag for me. Like, I like when people can be like, yeah, it didn't work out with my ex. Like, she did this and then I did this. And like, people both do things. Not, it's pretty rare that the downfall of a relationship was just solely one person's fault. Like that rarely happens. And like, we're at the point now where it's like, let's be adults, accept responsibility. And if you still are walking around like, I just can't stand my exes, there's more there. That means like you still got some feelings you haven't dealt with, and that's unresolved. And like, I don't want to deal with your unresolved feelings. So I guess I said all that to say, like, at the point that I met Chris, he had sort of resolved all his stuff with himself and with his ex. So it felt like a safe situation to enter at that point. So I did. All right. The next question is from Chassa. Hey, Chassa. Chassa is my girl from the Bay. She said, when are you visiting the Bay? Sadly, ever since I left San Francisco, I've only been back one time, and that was like by happenstance that I spent like a day there because I was on my way to Coachella last year in LA. And so I stayed in San Francisco for like 2 days, but I really do have to go back and like spend some time. When I lived in San Francisco, it was like 2.5 years, and it was probably some of the best years of my life. Because this is what happened when I moved to San Francisco. So I was working with my old company at the time, and I got a promotion. It was in San Francisco. I was super excited about it. And then one of my best friends, like one of my oldest friends from when I was like 11, called me up a month later, and she was like, you'll never guess where I'm moving. Like, I got a promotion at work and I'm moving to San Francisco. And I'm like, no way. So she moves to San Francisco a month later, which was crazy. She lived right in the marina, and I was living in Walnut Creek at the time. If anybody knows where that is, like, it's a suburb. It's like a very kind of like ritzy suburb, but I loved it. Like, don't get it twisted. I love a good suburb. I'm a suburb person. Like, I like the city, but like at heart, like I'm from the burbs, and I love a good strip mall. I love a good PF Chang's. So anyway, I was living out in the burbs. She was in the city. And so I would just like spend every weekend at her house. And when she needed a break, she would come out to Walnut Creek, where it was always like 30 degrees warmer, come to the pool, hang out. So it was just like some amazing years. And then after that, like people were like, oh, like, let me introduce you to a friend of a friend. And then like I met another cool friend. Then I met Vanessa, and then Vanessa was like, oh, like you got to meet my friend Lauren. And then it was just like this whole circle of amazingness. So I was at the time 25 or 26. And it was just this amazing circle of smart, young, beautiful Black women. It was like 6 of us that just kicked it hard all the time. And it was just so lovely. And we were all single when we first moved there. And it was just amazing. It was an amazing time. And we're all sort of like in relationships or married or children now. But like, I will never forget those years in the Bay. It was amazing. And I definitely have to go back very, very soon. Next question. How do you balance a healthy relationship while sharing it on social media? I never share anything on social media that isn't shared with Chris first. Right? Like that's my key. So like I might be mad, I might be steaming, but like I would never, ever go on social media and be like, don't you hate it when your man, like after the fact, after we talk about it and after like I've gotten a lesson out of it, but like there is nothing that the world would know before my partner knew it. I think that's what the healthy piece. So to me, I think I like sharing. Like I'm sometimes an oversharer, but I think that we have to learn to share when appropriate. Appropriate is when both people sort of have a handle on any given situation. I see fights like happening on social media where I'll see a woman post like a meme that's like clearly about something or someone. And then I'll see the person who is her boyfriend or they're breaking up or something is going on post something else like that's relating to that. And I'm just like, why are you guys fighting on social media? Like, I think it's completely okay to share the stuff you're going through, but like, figure out the stuff you're going through before you share it. Like, it shouldn't be a live TV show for us all to watch. Like, honestly, that's not even helpful. I prefer to share things when it's like, okay, I've been through it. I understand what happened. I understand my part in it. I understand the other person's part in it. I understand how we can prevent this from happening again. And now I can share the lesson and give feedback. But when something's happening, like in the thick of it, like it doesn't, you can't share it. Like you haven't even figured it out yet. So like, don't keep your partner on the outside. Like your partner is on the outside once you start sharing stuff with the world that they're not on the inside on yet. And like, if you haven't figured it out, they're not on the inside. So figure your stuff out And then you can share it. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't share, again, anything with the world that I haven't shared with Chris first. I would never think to criticize him publicly. Like, that's just silly to me. On this podcast, I talk about a lot. You guys know I have had breakups and I have straight up been like, and I just don't even know what happened. And I've shared that, like, sometimes while I'm still going through it. But again, not anything that the other person didn't know was happening. And certainly I've always gotten people's permission when I'm talking about something really personal that involves something else. I've told them, like, hey, I'm going to be on the podcast. I don't know exactly what I'll address, but I think I might talk about this. Like, is that okay with you? It can be very easy to show a highlight reel on social media. Like, it can be very easy to be like, oh my God, here we are. I love him. He is my everything. And yeah, here it is. And that's cool. And that's great. But I never want to paint an unrealistic portrait or expectations of what a relationship is and should be. So I just want to let it be known, if I haven't let it be known before, Chris and I, like everybody else in every relationship, have our fair share of problems and issues. I mainly talk about the lessons when I talk about it, but we have definitely had some times where I'm like, yo, I'm not here for this. Like, I don't know that I want to be in this. Like, what is happening here? Like, so we have definitely had some times, we've had some hard times where we've sat back and been like, damn, what's happening? Like, is this right? The thing that I love about Chris 100% is that he has never given up on me. I'm not an easy person to date. And I know that. I have sometimes, I think, outlandish expectations, and he listens, and he's never given up on me. Even at times where if I were with me, I'd be like, bye, Felicia, you need to fix that. But he just doesn't give up on me. And that's the greatest thing about him. He doesn't give up on anybody. If you're in his life and he loves you, like, he's not giving up on you. He will fight for you. He will try to understand you. And he's an amazing man. Next question. There is a lot of kid questions. I really feel like I am going to start a whole new podcast on dating a man with kids. But this one says, how are things going with the kid's mother? Has she been cool with you? Things are going good. And yeah, we are cool. I think most of our relationship revolves around the kids. So like we text and communicate on our own. Like it doesn't necessarily always isn't via Chris, but it's mainly about the kids. And so I think eventually what I would love to happen is that we can sort of develop a relationship on our own that's not always about the kids. So like, for example, the last text that I sent to her was pictures of the girls at the beach in Puerto Rico, which is great. And she loves receiving that. But I think I would just love to know her more as a person and not a mother or Chris's ex, because I think for women especially, it can be, you can get stuck in those categories, especially when you're a mother. I think it could just be like, I'm such and such as mother. And that becomes like almost how you introduce yourself. And I think it's important to get to know women as women and not as somebody's wife and not as somebody's mother. And so I think eventually that would be my hope, is that we can have that relationship where she's not just known to me as their mother, but I know her as a person outside of that. So yeah, things are cool. You know, like I think in like drop-offs and stuff, like we'll have sort of side conversations. But again, it's mainly about the kids. So I'd like for us to move a little bit further, but I think that's going to take a lot. I won't even say a lot. I think it's just going to take some time. And I think what we're both most getting comfortable with now is just how we all are interacting and doing it together and sort of delivering the same messages to the kids. You know, like I don't like it when the kids say, well, at mama's house, we like kids will try to trick you. on some BS. When kids feel like there's any sort of holes or loopholes or like, oh, I see that these people aren't maybe like talking as much and aren't communicating. Oh, okay, there's a hole in the system. Let me slip in. You're not going to slip in any holes with me. I'm communicating, okay? And so I would like for it to be, eventually, this is sort of my goal and hope for the future, is that it's all like one very cohesive line. So like whether you're at my house, at your mom's house, this is how, like, these are the rules. This is what we do. And this is how it is. So I think that's going to come with time. And certainly like, you don't want to step on like toes with that. Like, I don't want to be like, well, hey, at my house, I make them do chores at, and these are their chores. So they're going to need to do that at your house. Like, that's not really my place. But hopefully I think what'll happen over time is like both of us, and there's no contention, but I'm just saying like, eventually when you are exposed to enough things and how people do things, you sort of start to see the benefits of those things, right? So like I was saying earlier, the thing with Moke and like him being an alkaline vegan, like when he first said it, I was just like, bro, like I'm not going out to eat with you if this is how you're going to act. If this is how you're going to act, if you're going to eat in a healthy way, I can't eat with you. But eventually just through like exposure and learning and being around different people, I'm like, yo, what he is saying actually makes sense. Like, let me adopt this sort of lifestyle. And like, same with like the kids, right? So there are some things that she does that initially, or even now, I'm like, that's weird. Why would you do that? And I'm sure it's the other way around where the girls come back to her and they're like, we did this at Papa's house and Tennesha said, and like, I'm sure she's like, well, why would you do it that way? But eventually, as the kids start to like grow and are affected by certain things and are learning, like we'll see like, oh, that's actually like a good method. Oh, I should adopt that, so it, and everything then becomes more cohesive. So that's my goal, just to have a cohesive relationship between us and also get to know her on another level than just a mom. I don't say just a mom because being a mom is a huge deal. That's not a just, but in other ways is what I mean to say. Next question. Ways to meet men besides online dating. Because we're not doing as much in person, we're sort of losing some really important skills around communication and connection. So I do think it's a necessary skill to still be able to go out and have a conversation with somebody in person. But I think the best way to do this is to just be open, right? Like, I think we have these ideas in our head of like when we're going to meet somebody, right? So I used to be very deliberate about, well, it's a Saturday night. I'm getting dressed up. I'm doing my hair. I'm putting on my makeup and I'm going to this event or I'm going to this party and I'm going to this bar and I'm going to meet somebody tonight. Like, I'm going to meet somebody great tonight. And in my mind, it was going to happen because, well, here I am looking great. I'm carefree. It's Saturday. I'm feeling good. Like, this is the time I'm going to meet somebody. And so sure enough, like at the end of the night, I would be like, well, that was a waste of makeup. Just because I didn't meet anybody. But here's what I wasn't doing, right? So I had things that going on in my life. I was going to the gym. I was going to the grocery store. Wait, that really just sounded like there wasn't much going on in my life. I was going grocery shopping and going to the gym. But I mean, I was doing things in my life outside of going out on a Saturday night and getting dressed up. But I think because in those moments, I wasn't expecting to meet somebody, I wasn't open, right? So like I could be walking down the street and, on a Saturday morning, walking to the grocery store, and 5 men could have walked past me, but I didn't even notice because I might have been looking at my phone, or I just, in my mind, it was like, well, I'm not meeting somebody right now. I'm just running errands. I'm just running to the gym and to the grocery store. Like, it's not the time I'm going to meet somebody. And so thereby I wasn't opening myself up to it. Like, I wasn't looking up. I wasn't smiling at people. This is one of the biggest things that I tell my clients that I coach is be open all the time, anytime. So whether that be on a Saturday night when you're dressed up and looking cute and you're out, whether that be you're just sitting at Starbucks working on something, like look at people, actually look at people and connect with them. Everybody, not just the man that you're like, oh, he is cute. Not just the woman that you're like, damn, she's fine. Like everybody, like actually take a moment to connect with people. And like, there's an energy when people see that and they feel it. Like when you're actually open, like you literally, your body changes when you're open. Like your body language literally shifts. Like your body is like, it actually shifts to being open when you're connecting with people and when you're open to connecting with people, and people see that and then they're attracted to that. But when you're like closed off, like I'm just looking at my phone, or like I'm trying to get this work done at Starbucks, so I don't care, and you're not connecting with people, like it's very evident. So the answer to that question, where to meet people, everywhere. So it's not about where you go. It's about how open you are and how much you're showing that and how much you're actually feeling that. So like be open in any situation, like, and just talk to people. Like I love just talking to strangers. Like I really, when I'm out, like it just makes me feel good to talk to random people and it could be about nothing. And so, and you never know, like you never know. The other day, I went to the doctor and it was so cute. Like I left feeling amazing, right? So I went to the doctor and it was an unusual doctor visit in that he wasn't like, okay, so like, what are you here for? You know, he was like, oh, so like sit down. So I sat down and he's like, oh, so like, where, what's your name? Like where, well, he didn't say what's your name. He's like, where are you from? And I was like, oh, like, you know, I'm kind of back and forth between New York and Dallas. And he's like, oh, okay. And we start like having this whole conversation. And then he says, well, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I'm a dating coach and I also have this podcast. And he's like, oh, wow, tell me more about that. So I start telling him, and his door was open at this point. So he then gets up and he closes the door to the room, and he was like, here's the thing. Like I'm newly divorced and, you know, I don't really know how to get back out there. So literally the first half of the visit didn't even consist of medical stuff. And I didn't care because I had such a great time just talking to this man and getting to know him, like legit. And now we text. Shout out to him. And if you are about 40 and happen to be single, I know this amazing doctor in New York. Okay. So like be open. You never know. Now I could have gone in there. This is the difference. I could have gone in there and just been totally closed off, right? I could have just been like looking down. He could have been like, hey, like, what are you here for? And it's like, oh, I'm just, you know, I'm here for a checkup. Oh, okay, cool. Okay. So like, what's your weight? Step on the scale. Let me take your blood. Like it could have been that interaction. It really could have been. But I think me and him were aligned in that we were both just open. Like we were both just like, who is this person? Like, let me get to know you beyond a doctor. Let me get to know you beyond a patient. And that's really what it is in the world, is like, we all are these things. Like I'm a doctor. Today I'm playing the role of doctor, but that's not who you are. It's what you do, and you might love it, but it's not who you are at your core. And it's like, I'm playing the role of patient. That's not who I am. It's what I'm doing right now for the next hour, but it's not who I am. But like when you see people and you get to try to really know them, like that means so much. So, and people recognize that, and it spreads. So just be open to getting to know people, and you attract a certain energy when you do that, and people see that, and then good things come to you. The next question is from Chris. I'm not going to answer it. It said, what that mouth do? Oh, okay. Does a man's income matter? It does to me. I don't mean to be superficial when I say that. But here's the thing. This is how I look at it. And I don't think this is the right way of looking at it. I think it's a way of looking at it. And there are certainly other ways to look at it. But this is a very personal one. And this is the way I look at it. So I don't think it's about your exact income, right? Like I would never say, I need to date a man that makes at least $200,000. Like I don't have some sort of like cap or threshold, right? But I need to date a man that matches my ambition and that can help me grow and can teach me things. So I'm just not at the point anymore in life, or I won't even say anymore. I never really was at the point where I wanted to like save a man. Like I've never been like, he just needs a little bit of rescuing and a little bit of money, and next thing you know, he'll be great. No, like, I'm sorry. That was your mama's job. That's not my job. And I don't want to do that. That's not my job. It's just not. And so I would like to come into a relationship where we both have an ambition that allows us to thrive financially and in other ways, to the point where we're not holding each other down or back because of that. Now, let me say this. There are certainly situations where if tomorrow my man is like, hey, I'm starting a business and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and it's going to take every penny I earn. So like, yeah, things are going to be rough. 100% I am behind you. Let's do it. Like, you got this. I'm with it. This is for the team. Let's go. Right. But if it's just a situation of like, you just don't have any ambition to do more, and this is just sort of your status quo, well, it's not about your money not matching mine. Your ambition doesn't match mine. And if your ambition doesn't match mine, your money definitely won't match mine. And I've just always been of the mindset, like, I don't want to have to like take care of a man. Like, and the other thing is too, like, I like a nice vacation. Like I like a fancy restaurant. And here's the thing. I can absolutely do those things on my own. I never needed a man to take me to a fancy restaurant. I never needed a man to travel. Like, all the things I love to do are things I have been doing on my own. So it doesn't feel any sort of way for me to expect that. Like, for me, if I meet a man and I'm like, yeah, I want to go on this vacation and like, I want to go to this restaurant, like, I don't need to ask your permission. At this point, I'm just simply saying, you can come along with me, but like, I'm not taking care of you, and nor do I expect you to take care of me. Now, if like we want to be on some fancy stuff and you want to treat, and like, please, yes, I love that. But I would never ask a man for anything that I wouldn't be able to do on my own. Never. It's a core belief of mine that anything a man gives me, I need to be able to give myself first. So I'm totally fine. Like, if tomorrow, like, Chris is like, I'm taking you around the world on a vacation and just spoiling you to death, I'm going to be like, great, thank you, let's do it. But if I couldn't do that for myself, I would feel a way about doing it. Like, I would be like, because I don't know, like, I just don't like to feel like somebody is doing something for me that I can't do for myself, because then if they took that thing away, then it would be like they're taking something from me that I couldn't give myself. And it's a whole, I don't know, it's just how I think. And Chris and I often have conversations like this. And this is the other part of what I was going to say about this is, you know, it really depends on what you hold value in and what's important to you. So for some people, like, money is not an important factor, and that's not how they derive value, right? So he might say, I don't care if I date a woman that doesn't have any money, because as long as she makes me feel good, and as long as, I don't know, she like cooks a good meal for me, like, that makes me feel good. And therefore, like, the money doesn't matter, because that's the value in it for me. So the question was, does income matter? And I said, for me, it does, but it doesn't need to matter for everybody. It really depends on what you hold value in. So for some people, they really hold value in like physical traits, right? So some people are like, I would never date a man that is short or like doesn't dress well or is overweight or whatever it may be. And that's like a huge value to them. And they might be like, I dress well, I'm physically fit, I'm this, I'm that. So that's not something I'm going to compromise on. And that's completely fine. And they might be like, yeah, I can compromise on money, but like the physical aspect is something like I'm never going to compromise on, or, whatever it may be. Like we all have our things that are really important for us. And like for me, like financial independence is a really big thing. And so I would never want to be somebody that would be with somebody that like didn't also value that, or that, was at a point where they were like taking that from me because I had to like carry them so much. So for me, that's a really important thing. But it doesn't have to be. Like you have to figure out what's important for you up front. Like know this, like if you're getting into a relationship and like, yeah, I just really want to be with somebody that values financial independence, then ask those questions. Like ask, how do you feel about money? What is your relationship with money? Like money is really important. Like money is a whole nother relationship. So like people have scars from money, like in the same way that people deal with stuff from their parents, where it's like, your mama might've done some stuff when you were 5 and you're still carrying it and it's still affecting your relationship with people and with women and like how you interact. Like money is that for people. Like people have traumatic memories around money, and it affects the way that they see it and that they interact with it and that they keep it and that they let it go. Like actually, Kara Stevens came on an earlier episode this season. She had some really great things to say about that. I'll also post that episode in there, but she had some really great things to say around your relationship with money and like how that forms and how it affects you later in life and in your relationship. But long story short, if it's something that's important to you, ask those questions early and upfront. So just like if, physical traits are something that's really important to you, like don't wait to ask, do you go to the gym and is eating healthy important to you? Like don't wait down the line to ask that if that's like something that you need to have in a partner. Same thing with money. Like if it is important that somebody has a great relationship with money and understands money and how to save it and how to keep it, all that, like ask those questions up front. Like, what is your relationship with money? What is your credit score? Do you know your credit score? I've never been afraid to ask that. I ask that all the time. I legit ask, what is your credit score? Like, if you don't know the answer to that question, that tells me that you're not the person for me. It just does up front. It just does. So just be aware of how you yourself feel about it, and then ask the questions to see how somebody that you're dating is feeling about it as well. Every time I talk about money, what comes in my head? Money, 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 money. Some people gonna have it. Okay, I can't sing, as you guys know. Okay, next question. Can we get a Black Love update? So, yeah, we're all kind of all over at the moment. For those of you that didn't watch Black Love, it was about 5 women. I like to call it a Black Sex in the City. And we were friends, and we weren't fighting. It wasn't catty. I love those women. And I really wish like Black Love could have lasted longer, but I'm not sure that the world was ready for like female positivity yet. I think everyone was still stuck in like Real Housewives, but everybody is doing great. The person I talked to most recently was Cynthia. We probably caught up about 2-3 weeks ago. She is having fun and really enjoying getting to know somebody new in her life. And yeah, she is great. Like she is silly and funny and smart, and I love her. And so yeah, she's doing great. Her kids are like grown, and I think she's at the point now where she's sort of like loves her kids to death, but living life for her. And so I'm like proud of her for that, because she's like a very connected, in touch mommy. And so like she always puts her kids first. And I think now like she's like, having a little like Cynthia kid free time when she can. So Cynthia's doing well. La, I need to catch up with. Like we need to have like an in-depth phone convo. She's still in Ghana, And I went to see her at the end of last year. And like, the thing I love about La is, La could just show up anywhere in the world. Like when I say in the world, I mean the world, and like make it her. And that's what she did in Ghana. Like, she's just like, it's her. It just is her. I can't even explain that in a better way. Like, she wanted to like live somewhere else. She just said, screw it. She did it. And like, La is living her very best life in Ghana. Like, she introduced me to like so many cool people and friends while I was out there. And like, it's just her. Like, I don't even know a better way to say it, but like, it just fits her. I'm like, you're supposed to be here. Like, this looks amazing on you. So like, I almost like, I wish like La was like, there was some sort of Black love show out there, just documenting her life out there and like how she's navigating and like all the interactions she's making. And like, to be clear, like La isn't just out there like, yeah, here I am just like in Ghana, like chilling on vacation. Like, no, she's literally making a life there. Like, she's like building a business and making friends and making connections and like getting to know the land and the people. And like, it's not just some like, here I am for fun. Like, she's doing it. So I'm super proud of her. Jay, I love Jay. She is in California now in grad school, actually, I can never remember if it's USC or UCLA, but I feel like she's matured so much. Like, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like almost like a big sister to Jay, and like, she's just mature. Like, I was like, okay, like, I see you. And it's something that she's wanted to do for a while. Like, she's really talked about it ever since I met her, actually. I'm sort of going back to school for film, and she's finally doing it. I'm super proud of her. And I actually am probably going to go out to LA sometime in the next couple months. So I'll definitely catch up with her while I'm out there. And Monet moved to San Francisco. I actually haven't caught up with her in a while, so I definitely need to make that happen. But from her Instagram story, she looks very happy. And as you know, like, I love San Francisco, so great place for her to be. So yeah, everybody is doing really well. Let me see. So Cynthia is in a relationship. Now, if I'm wrong, or if I haven't been updated in the last couple of weeks, don't kill me, Cynthia. La was sort of, well, you guys heard the episode with La when I was in Ghana. Like, she did an episode and she sort of talked about what was happening with her, and I think she's just still dating. But you guys need to listen to that episode. I'm going to link it. I'm going to link like 10 episodes on this podcast. So if you're listening to this podcast, just know you're going to have to listen to like 10 more after you listen to this one. But yeah, La is dating. Jay is single, and I'm not sure about Monet. So I think we're all like, none of us are married yet. So, and I don't know that that's the goal for everybody or anybody. Like, yeah, we're working on it. But there definitely does need to be some sort of reunion. So I think when I go out to LA, I will definitely try to catch up with Jay on the podcast. And so I love how I'm doing this without even asking her. I'm like, I'm definitely going to have her back on the podcast. Hopefully Jay can come on the podcast. And then next time I'm out in San Francisco, same for Monet. So yeah, a lot of good things happening with the ladies. Wasn't that such a great show? I'm not even saying that because I was on the show, but just in general, like, I loved being on the show. And though things didn't work out with me and Errol, I think it was still a really great experience, like, documenting that. And like, sometimes I'll see random clips or people in other countries where like Black Love will still air. They'll like send me a message or a clip, and I'll just be like, oh God, I can't watch. Like when I'm putting the furniture together, or Errol and I are putting the furniture together, and I'm just like, I'll do it. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not that person, I swear. So, update on me since Black Love. I've grown I'm a little bit more, chill. Of course, you'll probably have to ask Chris on that, but I think I'm a little more chill. So yeah, those are the Black Love updates. I did have some more questions, but I think I'm going to have to reserve those for our next Q&A, probably in a couple weeks. So in the meantime, though, if you guys have any more questions, please feel free to DM me. I am a person that you can slide into my DMs. I do answer my DMs. You remember, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, so I just might not answer right away, but I do answer. So please reach out to me anytime. If you are in Dallas and you would like to come on the show, please reach out. Let me know your story. Let's chat. So that is it for today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being supportive. And please reach out to me and let me know what you think of the show at Tennesha Wood on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And until next time, wish me love. Hello again, my lovely listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of DRL. If you like the show, be sure to go on iTunes and leave a rating and also write a review. And don't forget to share with your friends and tell them all about DRL. Thank you so much for supporting.